bum, 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 bottom, bum, 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 ba-da-da-dum, bum, bum, ba-dum, ba-ba-dum-dum, bottom, bottom, bum, 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 ba-dum, bum, ba-dum, ba-da-dum, ba-da-dun, dun, 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 dun. Oh, this is not my key, my friends. It is hard. Hello, my friends. Hello from Louisiana and Virginia. And hi, Susan. Hi, Tara. So nice to see everyone. Wisconsin. Hello. Hello, my mighties. Wonderful mighties from Myers, Florida, Fort Myers, Florida. Nice to see you, Bonnie. And Diane, yep. No, there should be sound. You might want to reload because everyone else can hear me. You can hear me, right? Lisa from Texas, hello. Yes, just give a better breath into it. You're right. I shouldn't give up so readily, right? Hi, Martha from Alberta. And Alabama comes Bridget. And it's so wonderful to see everyone. Nebraska, Wisconsin. From Lawrence, Kansas. Hello, my friends. Here we are, Monday night. Every Monday night, 8 o'clock Eastern time. We've been doing this. I was trying to figure out how long I've been doing this for. We think it's about 5 years every Monday night. I've never skipped one. We've missed a couple because of internet problems or storms or that kind of thing. But I'm always there. I'm always giving it the try. So every Monday night, 8 o'clock Eastern time, I'm here, and I'm here to do one thing and one thing only, and that is for me to teach you homeopathy and for you to share your experiences as well. Hello, Bob and Deb Dunbar. Nice to see you. So my name is Joette Calabrese, and for those of you who don't know me, this is what we do every Monday. For those of you who are not new and are old friends, welcome, my old friends. It's great to see you all here. I love to see that you're helping each other. That's what this is about. It's a very good thing to see everyone helping one another because without, without community, without the help of each other, I would not have learned homeopathy. I would not be teaching homeopathy. It's because of the largesse of practitioners, of other homeopaths in my life, that I'm able to learn, I was able to learn so that I could pass it on to you, what I've learned. So tonight we're going to start a series on addictions. So we're going to, there are many kinds of addictions, as you well know. We're going to start with vaping. And the reason I want to start with vaping is because my son suggested it. He said that he has many friends who are trying to stop. And I know that to be so. So where we're going to start is with our repertory. This is Robin Murphy's repertory. This is the 4th edition. And for 3rd edition is also good if you happen to have that. But the 4th edition gives you a little more updated information. And so we're going to look in the back under clinical, which is also generals, 2 ways of looking at it. And we're going to look under addictions. In alphabetical order, addictions. And in this book, it's 2075. In this edition, it's page 2075. Oh, yes, my friends. There are that many pages in this book. Repertories are replete with information. About 2,800 pages in the book. 2,600, I should say. And we're going to look at addictions. Now, I'm going to hold this up, and I don't always get it right, so it's going to be a little cumbersome. Let me get my pen out of here. And I'm going to point to addictions, and you're going to see how many remedies there are under the word addictions. You see addictions here? Let me get closer. And then if you look down towards the bottom of the page, I hope it's not backwards. It might be backwards now that I think of it. I think someone said that last time. But it's on page 2075, and what I'm trying to point out to you is the number of medicines. Under the general ailments from addictions, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, maybe 50 remedies. Some are very bold, it means that they are much more important. Others are not as high level, high ranking, so to speak. But more importantly, in that rubric, as we call it, we will find medicines that are for generalized addictions. But then there's another sub-rubric, and it says addictions from recreational drugs. I consider vaping a drug. It's got nicotine. And I consider it recreational, of course. So we're going to look at that one. That's going to be probably one of our more important rubrics here. And I'll just read them to you. The more important ones. Avena sativa, bufo, nux vomica, and tuberculinum. Now, there are others. There are others, but those are the top ones. And so we start by considering those. We still look at the others. We don't discount just because they're not the top remedies. And how do we know they're top? They're either bold and capitalized, bold, capitalized, underlined, italicized. So these are italicized. Avena sativa, bufo, and nux vomica, and tuberculinum. It's likely that the medicine that we need to consider to help someone quit vaping is going to be in that rubric. But we're not done, my friends. We are not done. Now we're going to go to another section. And that section is ailments from nicotine. And that's on page 2362. It's right here. If it's backwards, I'm sorry. I don't know how to do that. I'm sure there's a way that we can change that. So, ailments from nicotine. The main remedies are aconite and bryonia, argentum nitricum, cactus, caladium, calc-phos, camphor, kund, gels, gelsemium, hyoscyamus. I'm sorry, can't read that quick. My glasses are not good. Calmia, nicotine, nux vomica, passa means passiflora, phosphorus, plutonium, saccharicor, stroph, tobacum, and veratrum. There are other medicines. There are probably, I'm going to say 50 medicines there. But those that I just read are the most important. So now what we're looking for is something that would be the cross-section there. Those medicines that we found in addictions, especially addictions to recreational drugs, and ailments from nicotine. So we're kind of splitting hairs a little bit here, but is there an ailment? If someone is quitting vaping, I'm assuming that to a certain degree, there are ailments from it. May not be. But nicotine addiction would be even tighter if we could have that rubric. We don't have that rubric. So this is what I have come up with. I have come up with what we see in both areas, both rubrics, are nux vomica. We know nux vomica to be a medicine that is very specific for ailments from drugs, conventional drugs, prescribed drugs, street drugs, recreational drugs, and nux vomica. Very good medicine. We're not going to jump on it yet. Passiflora is in both of those rubrics. Passiflora, passion flower, excellent medicine for getting off of narcotics, drugs, substances that are not necessary for life. Passiflora. And the next one is tobacco. Kind of hits it right on the nose, doesn't it? Because we know that it's not that there's necessarily tobacco in vaping substances. Maybe there is, maybe there isn't. But we know that there's nicotine in most of them. So we have 3 top medicines. Those are the ones that straddle both of those 2 rubrics. And now what we want to do is kind of look at whether or not the person that is struggling with this addiction has any other aspects of the 3 medicines that we're looking at. Now, there are other medicines, let me just say this parenthetically. I also like Avena sativa. I like lobelia inflata. Lobelia, excellent medicine for breathing in something that's toxic. And of course, we have to consider this is toxic, right? Vaping is toxic. It's not intended. It's not needed. It's not nourishing. It's extraneous. It's something that is societal rather than necessary. So that is another one. There's one more that I want to think about here, and that is ignatia. Perhaps the person needs ignatia for this situation, because we also have, ignatia has a need for fitting in. There's kind of a sadness or a low level depression of sorts, not quite depression, but kind of a sadness that needs to be picked up, and vaping can help them do that. And I love what people are saying. Yep. Please, friends, share too, and do share this information and like it. I never tell people to do that, but I think it's important that this get out there. So do share and like. So Alice says, I thought coffea cruda would help me get off of caffeine, psychological dependence, but it was passiflora and nux vomica that worked. Yeah. Coffea cruda is as we would imagine. Coffea cruda was a consideration here. It is in any one of these? It is not in nicotine, ailments from nicotine. And let's see if it's in, let's get our ribbons correct here. Addictions to narcotics. Coffea should be in there. Yes, coffea is in there. So, but we want to look at those medicines that are powerful in both rubrics and see, so we've got two things to do. We want to find a cross-reference between these two rubrics, and we also want, if there are any other symptoms the person's experiencing, such as nausea, constipation, diarrhea. People also use vape cannabis. I know they do. We'll talk about cannabis another time. And situations where they are having nux vomica type symptoms, not just overusing vaping, but also overusing drugs, overeating food, too much alcohol, too much revelry, up at night, debauchery, out at bars, smoking cigarettes, over the top with substances and revelry of sorts. So, what I boiled it down to for vaping was tobacco, passiflora, and nux vomica. And so which one are we going to use? Are we going to use all three? We like to be able to make this even tidier. We want to edit. It's like an artist painting. They've just painted all of these certain family of colors that they're using, and now they're looking at it and they say, there's a little too much black in there. Let's back off from the black. That's what we're looking for. We want to really tighten this up as best we can. The results will be more obvious, more discernible for the practicing homeopath. So we've got 3 remedies to consider here. If we find that the person is nauseous from vaping too much, or even vaping a little, then we have to consider tobacco and nux vomica. They both have nausea. Tobacco, however, has a higher influence in the gut when it comes to nausea. So although we're comparing nux vomica and tobacco, we're going to consider tobacco a little bit more heavier here. If, on the other hand, the person is irritable all the time, they are angry in traffic, they live a life of revelry, as I said. Debauchery is really a better word. They overdo everything. Now we're going to move a little more towards nux vomica. If we could describe the person who has a vaping addiction more like that, we're going to use nux vomica. If we don't see that aspect of the person, there are no gut issues, etc., other than some nausea. There's no behavioral issues, no irritability, no typical nux vomica type personality issues, then we're going to move more towards tobacco. So let's say it's someone who has been vaping, but they also drink a good amount of alcohol. What's a good amount? Every night? I think that's a good amount. They have a martini every night. They have 2 beers every night. Or on the weekends, they have 3 or 4 beers every weekend. I think that person, in my estimation, is a drinker. Are they alcoholics? I'm not going to say that because I don't know the person, but that person is a drinker. So I would use nux vomica then in this case in a 30th potency. And I would use it twice daily, every day. And if the person finds that vaping is so difficult for them, particularly in the evening, I would schedule that nux vomica a little bit later in the day, maybe starting around 11 or 12, so that the second dose of nux vomica will come just around the time that person would be interested in vaping. Now, is it going to abort the interest in vaping altogether? No, I think that I would love to say these are magic pills, but we must exert our own free will as well. And so in that case, there has to be something that the person is willing to do. Instead of vaping at 8 o'clock most nights, 9 o'clock, 11 o'clock, that's when they go for a walk. Or they put on music that's inspirational, and if they can't get outside, or there's no way to get out that late at night, depending on where they live, and they work out in the basement. Or they put on great music that's an inspiration. Music is powerful, my friends. And they clean the closets. Or they decide to make some banana bread for their neighbor who's housebound. Something positive at the time they normally would be doing vaping, going to their workshop, starting to sand some wood that they've been working on for a project they've been considering for a long time. Something constructive. That's what we're looking for. Nux vomica, 30 twice daily for this addiction. Now, if instead what I'm telling you is that the debauchery, the craving for not just vaping, but for many substances that are not healthy for most humans, and if that is really powerful and the person is irritable and they often feel as though other people are an impediment to their movement forward, they are, whether it's in traffic or it's at the office or wherever it might be in life, that means we might use it in a 200C instead of a 30. And I would use it in the same fashion, twice daily. Now, what are we going to do about the person who doesn't have that personality? That doesn't have that intensity? They just like to vape. They have a normal life. And actually they find perhaps that they feel a little nauseous or a little dizzy if they vape too often, or only sometimes that happens, but that has happened and it still happens from time to time. I would skip the nux vomica altogether and I would go directly to tobacco. And I would use that in a 30. And I would use that twice daily. Tobacco can be very helpful with the person who needs to quit smoking as well. But we're not going to talk about smoking, really. We're not even going to talk about alcoholism. We'll talk about that in weeks to come. So stay with me on this. We're going to cover a lot of addictions in the next many weeks. So in that case, instead of nux vomica, we would use tobacco. I would use tobacco 30 twice daily. And so the question is, how long? How long? For how long do we do this? And my answer is as long as it takes. Generally, it's going to take a couple months, maybe weeks, if we're lucky. Sometimes people turn around in days. Everyone's a little different. But generally, we go for approximately 6 weeks and see how it turns out and see what comes of it. Now, sometimes it's subtle. Sometimes people say, well, I'm not vaping as much now because I'm using one of these two medicines because, it's summer. And instead of vaping inside and being in the house or being with friends in someone's house, instead, I really like riding my bike at night. So that's the reason why. Well, then you have to not ask that person, but observe and ask yourself, was that person vaping last summer? And had they come to that conclusion last summer that the reason they weren't vaping is because it was summer and they wanted to ride their bike instead? It's subtle, and we humans find ways of explaining away our behavior. So what is it we're looking for? Are we looking for, bam, and it's done? No, what we're looking for most likely, although it can happen like that, it has happened. I will tell you more often than not, we're going to see 3 magic markers. Either 1, 2, or all 3 of them. Even one of them is good enough. Less intensity to the sensitivity, less intensity to the desire to vape. It will be less intense. It will last for a shorter period of time, meaning if they can withstand it for the first night and it takes 2 hours to get past that great desire, then the next night might be a little bit less, and a week later it won't last as long. It's 10 minutes instead of 2 hours. Lasting for a shorter period of time, and a larger space between each episode of the craving. What does that mean? Well, what used to be every night now turns into perhaps every other night. What used to be every night is now turning into maybe twice a week it occurs. So this measurement of the magic markers that we are using is not just for vaping, it's for how we determine whether or not the medicine is acting for any condition. Less intensity, lasting for a shorter period of time, and a larger space between each episode. My friends, if you haven't written that down, I'm assuming it's because you already know this. Because you must, if you did not know this, you must know these markers. Because it's one thing to know what medicine to use, what potency to use, and what frequency, but then one must make an assessment. One must determine whether or not the medicine is acting. Because if what you're expecting is that it's going to be 3 days and it's done, you're going to be sorely disappointed and you'll lose out on an opportunity to use a medicine that could really make a huge difference. Oh, wow, that's interesting, Alice says. I still take Nux Vomica 200 every other Saturday for all my previous years of overconsumption. Well, we don't know what Alice suffers from, but if it's helping what it is that she suffered from, then that's a beautiful thing. But there's also a point, and I'm assuming that Alice knows what she's doing. But there comes a point when the condition is gone, the desire for the vaping is gone. Do we take the medicine? Do we carry on for another 6 months, a year? No. This is not like synthetic patented drugs where they tell you you're going to be taking this the rest of your life for high blood pressure, for whatever, arthritis, for depression. You just accept it. You're going to take this the rest of your life. No. Homeopathy is a loftier goal. Homeopathy's goal is to make the correction, to correct the condition, not exacerbate it so that you're dependent on a synthetic patented drug for the rest of your life. So we need to look for that tipping point. At what point is this person improved by using Nux Vomica? At what point is this person improved enough that we can back off of Nux Vomica or tobacco? At what point? 3 weeks, 6 weeks, 12 weeks, 6 months, wherever that is, that's when we back off. Now, I urge you that before you start even considering this, I'm giving you a very in-depth lesson tonight, that you jot down what is that's happening. How strong is the desire. Is the vaping a habit so that it's every night? No, it's not. It's maybe 3 times a week. Okay, you need to write that down. And how strong is it? On a scale of 1 to 10, how strong is that desire? 10? 4? Wherever it is, that's what you want to write down. You're putting the date there. You're writing how frequently the person is compelled to vape and the intensity of it. And we want to know any other symptoms that are concomitant to this addiction. Write it all down with the date. Now put that in a file for that person. Now, in a month, 3 weeks, depending on what you're going to be observing, don't ask the person, how are you feeling, how are you doing, what's going on. Let them tell you. And you just observe meanwhile. And as you see that it's kind of falling to the wayside a little bit, don't say anything. Just let them find their way to improvement. Now, some people, when it comes to addictions, and I just mentioned it vaguely, they find that they are, well, hold on. I've got a question here that's really a good question. She says, what about with anxiety? Here's the way you figure this out, my friends. Look up the remedy Nux Vomica. Look it up in your Materia Medica. If you don't own a Materia Medica, it would behoove you to own one. I have a Materia Medica that you can purchase, or you can get one online, and or get not one necessarily, but you can go online and look up Materia Medica, Homeopathic, and look up the remedy Nux Vomica. Nux Vomica does have anxiety. Ignatia also incorporates anxiety. Remember, we just talked about Ignatia as well. Yes, an amazing remedy, Nux Vomica. You got that right, Leanne. Nice to see you. It is an amazing medicine. Why is Nux Vomica such an amazing medicine? Because we live in an artificial world, my friends. We eat artificial foods. We breathe in artificial air. We wear artificial shoes. We're not walking on sand at the ocean. We wear artificial clothing. We were born in hospitals with artificial drugs and artificial lights. We've been given artificial substances for every little cold or flu or ache or pain. We think we're going to get a checkup just to see how things are, and then we find out, oh my gosh, you've got this and this and this and this and this, and we've got drugs, we've got a drug for this and this and this and this and this, and then we all start taking it. We live an artificial life, and Nux Vomica represents it quite well. It's not the only medicine. We've got others. There's arsenicum. We've got plenty of other medicines that represent, excuse me, an artificial life, but Nux Vomica takes the cake. If I skip the twice monthly Nux Vomica, I deteriorate regarding chemical sensitivity and coffee and chocolate craving, which isn't good for me since I can't seem to detoxify them like other people can. Well, let me also say to you, well put, Alice, Nux Vomica is a great detoxifying medicine. It's great for the liver. It's great for alcoholism, to help break that, to help break these substances. Now I'm going to add one more medicine. I only have 2 minutes, and I want to add this in here. I did talk about passiflora, passion flower. In a mother tincture, it's excellent. It can be taken 5 to 10 drops twice daily. You can put it in your water. You can put it in a cup of tea. And that helps calm the nerves a great deal. It can help with sleep. It can help with many other emotional and central nervous system issues, but particularly for when it comes to addictions. So we're going to see passiflora time and time again. It's a very good medicine across the board. And we also, my friends, are going to see Nux Vomica time and time again. And what we will do in unraveling this problem that our society has with addictions is we're going to see unifying threads. Certain remedies are going to be flowing through each week as we approach each one of these conditions. Ah, well put. Hi, Mighties. This intro tune reminds me of Charlie Brown tune. Yes, that must be Harry. Hi, Harry. And we've been told artificial stories. You have so hit it on the nose. Artificial stories. You bet. Could you take both Nux vomica and tobacco? The best way to do this, my friends, is to edit. Find one medicine that covers both, if you possibly can. Start with that. So Passiflora is in mother tincture. I said 5 to 10 drops twice daily. Same idea. God bless you all. More addiction information next Monday. Please share, pass it along, and give us a thumbs up. We love it. Thank you. It helps us get this out to more people. God bless you all. Good night.
With our homeopathic protocols, you learn your remedies. My family needs me, so I must know our remedies. How much to take, how often to treat, and when to stop, and when to repeat. With our homeopathic protocols, you learn your remedies. Athuzanodary, it's elementary with arnica head, arsenicum fed, spigelia slither, orms from wither, no more infirm. My family needs me, so I improve my memory. Not only the rems, but how often to treat, and when to stop, and when to repeat. With your homeopathic protocols, learn your remedies. Belisol red and arnica head, drosera bark, ignatia dark, source of frigid and cupim to rigid, and crude itches, calicum, barnicum, let it melt on your gumbo, beast to weed are some great ways to treat yellow. La 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 la, homeopathic protocols, learn your remedies. With our homeopathic protocols, you learn your remedies. My family needs me, so I must know our remedies. How much to take, how often to treat, and when to stop, and when to repeat. With our homeopathic protocols, you learn your remedies. Athuzanodary, it's elementary with arnica head, arsenicum fed, spigelia slither, orms from wither, no more infirm. My family needs me, so I improve my memory. Not only the rems, but how often to treat, and when to stop, and when to repeat. With your homeopathic protocols, learn your remedies. Belisol red and arnica head, drosera bark, ignatia dark, source of frigid and cupim to rigid, and crude itches, calicum, barnicum, let it melt on your gumbo, beast to weed are some great ways to treat yellow. La 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 la, homeopathic protocols, learn your remedies. With our homeopathic protocols, you learn your remedies. My family needs me, so I must know our remedies. How much to take, how often to treat, and when to stop, and when to repeat. With our homeopathic protocols, you learn your remedies. Athuzanodary, it's elementary with arnica head, arsenicum fed, spigelia slither, orms from wither, no more infirm. My family needs me, so I improve my memory. Not only the rems, but how often to treat, and when to stop, and when to repeat. With your homeopathic protocols, learn your remedies. Belisol red and arnica head, drosera bark, ignatia dark, source of frigid and cupim to rigid, and crude itches, calicum, barnicum, let it melt on your gumbo, beast to weed are some great ways to treat yellow. La 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 la, homeopathic protocols, learn your remedies.